Hey everyone, in this video we're going to go over how to install Marsupial EMR, Marsupial Editor, Marsupial Instructor, and Marsupial Pharmacy. I'll show you how to get those downloaded, installed, and up and running with some of the demo databases that are provided. So we're going to start off at the Marsupial website, marsupialemr.com. There's a link in the top right for download. Just click that. And it'll take you to the download link. Go to GitHub. All the files are hosted on GitHub. So we'll click that and it'll take us to the Marsupial project GitHub page. GitHub uses repositories for projects. So I have 4 different repositories, one for each of the applications: Marsupial EMR, Editor, Instructor, and Pharmacy. Marsupial EMR is the program, the actual EMR program that students will use to view medical records and charts and give medications. Marsupial Editor is the application that faculty or teachers or whoever's doing the editing of charts, they can use Marsupial Editor to create patient charts. Marsupial Instructor is an optional application if you want to remotely control the EMR during a sim, for example, over a network connection. So if you have a laptop in your simulation control room, for example, that's running Marsupial Instructor, it's on the same network as the student's like lab computer that Marsupial EMR is running on, you could use Marsupial Instructor to change the EMR during a sim. Let's say you want to release some new lab results or release some new orders during the sim. You can do that with Marsupial Instructor. And the last one is a new application just released fall 2024. It's Marsupial Pharmacy. Marsupial Pharmacy is a medication dispenser software. It kind of mimics what a medication dispenser you'd use in the hospital. Marsupial Pharmacy is a standalone application. It's optional, you don't have to use it. But if you're looking for a medication dispenser solution, you can use Marsupial Pharmacy to do that. It runs on, well, I'll show you how I'll explain how I use it. I have Marsupial Pharmacy running on a all-in-one computer that has like a computer built into a monitor. And that monitor is touchscreen. And I just have that sitting on top of a tool cart that has a bunch of drawers in it, and each drawer has a bunch of bins in it. So I use that whole setup as like my medication dispenser. The computer's running Marsupial Pharmacy. It's touchscreen. The screen mimics like the screen you would see on a Pyxis or Omnicell, and this uses the same medication library and patient database that Marsupial EMR uses. So the same database files you would create for Marsupial EMR using Marsupial Editor are used by Marsupial Pharmacy. So you don't have to really do anything extra if you want to use a medication dispenser. You can use the same database files. When you go into Marsupial Pharmacy, it'll give you a list of patients that are in your database, and it'll use the med library to have all the locations of the medications. So I'll show you how to install all of these. If you want to learn more about Marsupial Pharmacy, since it is new, I have another video available that you can watch, and it'll kind of walk through what Marsupial Pharmacy is, how it works, and how to set it up. So let's go through installing these applications. Let's do Marsupial EMR first. Probably what most people want to use. So we'll click Marsupial EMR, and it'll take us to the Marsupial EMR project repository. So there's a bunch of information on here. I recommend reading. We have some quick links or documentation on this wiki up here. If you have questions, it'll kind of explain how different buttons and options work within the software. It's a link to training videos on YouTube. Definitely watch those. Link to a discussion board here. If you have questions, you can ask discussions there. or if you have questions, you can ask them on the discussion board. There's also a link up here for discussions. And then we have links to download each of the softwares. So you can click download here for download Marsupial EMR if you want to click that, or on the right side here under releases, that's where you can download the software. If you just want to get the latest version, you can click this latest here, or if you want to see all the releases, like all the past ones as well, you can click this releases link and it'll take you to where all the files are to download. And it'll give you notes on what changed for each version. So as of this video, Marsupial EMR version 2.0 just released, so that's the latest version. And it gives an overview of what changed. There are some red flags here showing some really important things. There's a breaking change in version 2 with how medication dosages are handled, so make sure you review any of these flags and review the change log here so you can figure out what's been updated or what's been added. So a bunch of new features. And then after that, we've got some installation instructions. You can follow these. We're going to kind of walk through these in this video. So there's a bunch of notes here just warning you, do not overwrite your custom medlibrary.db or the internal .db for the software with the versions that are in the downloaded one. So if you've edited a med library already that has a bunch of custom medications in it, don't overwrite it with the one you're going to download because it's going to lose all your changes. And this is just explaining what all the example databases are included and what they do. So down below under assets is where you can download the actual software and files. We've got Marsupial EMR version 2.0.zip. That's what we want to download for the software. And then we also have this EMR databases version 3.zip. This will have our demo databases in it. So you're going to want to grab both of these. We'll just click on the Marsupial v2 and it'll download to our downloads folder. I'm using Microsoft Edge, but Google Chrome or Firefox or whatever you're using kind of works the same way. And then we'll get our EMR databases version 3 as well. So I'm not going to open the file. I'm just going to open the folder for where it downloaded to. So under downloads, we've got the two files we downloaded. They're zip files. So a lot of software you would just run an installer like to install it. In this case, there is no installer. You just unzip the zip file and you can run the program. So we just got to put it in the right spot. So I'll show you how I have mine organized. I've got this desktop. I put mine on the desktop. I make a folder called Marsupial. You could also put it in My Documents or wherever you want it to be. And then I put a bunch of different folders in here. We're gonna make a new folder by right-clicking, go to New Folder, and we'll do Marsupial EMR. We'll right-click and make a new folder, and we'll do Marsupial Editor. And we'll make one for each application that we want. If you don't want to use Instructor or Pharmacy, then you don't need to make one for those. I'm going to make another folder for my databases, and it's going to be called User DBs. So these 4 folders will hold the application, and then the User DBs will hold my custom charts, med library, and stuff like that, just so it's in a separate spot so I don't overwrite them if I ever have to update the software. So we can go back to our downloads folder. We're going to open our Marsupial EMR, and we're going to extract it. We're going to browse to the folder we made, on the desktop. It's the Marsupial folder, and it's Marsupial EMR. We're going to select that folder, and we're going to hit extract. And now we've got Marsupial EMR extracted to our Marsupial EMR folder. So that's downloading Marsupial EMR. Let's open up our databases and extract those, our demo databases. So we can go back to our downloads folder, open our EMR databases version 3.zip. We will extract all, and we're going to pick our folder on the desktop in the Marsupial folder under user DBs. We're going to select to extract there and hit extract. And now we've got all of our demo DBs in our user DB folder on the desktop. And we're going to go ahead and close that zip file. So we've got the EMR downloaded, our demo database is downloaded. We can pretty much consider that installed. So now we should be able to run Marsupial EMR. If we just open that folder and we want to double click our marsupial.exe, you might get this pop-up warning you that Microsoft Defender Smart Screen prevented unrecognized app from starting. Running this app might put your PC at risk. It's just an unfortunate pop-up that's going to pop up because it's a custom piece of software and it's not released by like a corporation. So Windows and Microsoft doesn't like recognize it as being made by like Google or Microsoft or Apple. So it's just made by me. So it's going to pop up and say Microsoft doesn't recognize this as like a big business application because it's not, and it's free. So you can click the more info and click run anyway to run the program. It'll ask you, could not load patient database. It gives you some warnings because we've never run Marsupial before. And it's trying to open charts and a med library. So you can just click OK. And now we have the actual EMR screen. So we want to do some configuration before we open any charts. We can go to Tools and go to Settings. And under the Settings menu, you can tell Marsupial which med library you want to use and which monograph library we want to use. So we're going to pick Select Med Library, and then we're going to go to the desktop. We're going to go to our Marsupial folder and user DBs, and we're going to pick our med library.db. That's our demo med library. And then for monograph, we're going to select monograph library, and it should be in the same location we just opened. But if not, again, go to desktop, Marsupial, user DBs, and click on monographs.bb. So now Marsupial should recognize those when we go to open a patient chart. So we'll click save. Just saying settings are saved, a program restart may be required for some settings to take effect. We shouldn't need to for these. Now if we want to actually open the patient charts in one of our demo databases, we can go to File, Open EMR Database. And then if you watch the Marsupial editor video already, then you'll recognize this demo charts.db. That's when we made some patient chart we made in the Marsupial editor video. We'll open that, and that'll give us our patients we made. We made Michael Holloway during that video, and now we see it. We can double click it. It opened the patient. We can look at some of the notes we made, some of the orders we put in here, lab results, the imaging, and then our MAR. I always check the MAR just to make sure it's reading my med library correctly. So if you see all the medications here, and we can like successfully scan barcodes and things like that, then you know everything's working. So that's installing Marsupial EMR. One more thing we'll check is the drug guide. We told it to look for the monographs.db in settings, so if we type in a medication here, it should find it, and it did. So if it pulls up a medication here, we know that Marsupial EMR has successfully found that monographs.db, and it's pulling data from that. Let's go back to the tools and settings. Let's explain some more of these settings here. Under network, we have server IP address. If you want to use Marsupial Instructor to remotely control Marsupial EMR, then you'll want to enter the server IP address. And the server in this case is going to be the computer that's running Marsupial EMR. You can put your IP address there, and Marsupial Instructor will be able to connect to this computer that Marsupial EMR is running from another computer, as long as it's on the same network. And then if you automatically want it to start the server on program startup, you can click that, and then every time you run Marsupial EMR, it'll automatically start the connection server. The clock and state options here, use custom time for clock. That'll let you change this time up here in the EMR clock to a custom time. So if you have this checked, it'll use this custom time box as the time up here. If you don't have it checked, it'll use like your computer's time. So whatever the real time is. Using it, I always use custom time for my clock because I have all my simulation scenarios starting at a specific time. So they're basically almost all starting at shift change. So at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. So that's a good way to run your sims, because if you're going to be setting up a MAR, for example, and you've got meds due that you want the patient or students to scan, they're going to have a time that's consistent and like makes sense with the scenario. And you don't have to like go in and change due times every time you run a sim. So I just always have the sim starting at a specific time. That way my chart is always, I don't have to change my chart ever. I just tell the students to use this clock as the time. And then they'll have a consistent time. Each group that runs through a sim will always be starting at this time here. So between groups, I'll just close Marsupial EMR and reopen it, and it'll reset this clock to my custom time every time I open Marsupial EMR. And then I'll reset all the changes that have been made to the EMR. Show next state button and current state is this icon up here. This is a new feature for version 2 of Marsupial EMR. It allows you to pre-program states, kind of like you would program states for a mannequin, but this is for the EMR chart. So if I wanted, like, it's always going to start in state 0, but if I wanted to, let's say, make state 1, and I wanted to release a bunch of orders and a bunch of new lab results in state 1 of my simulation, then I can program it to do that. This button will let students advance the state on the EMR on their computer. So if you don't have like another laptop that you can remotely connect over a network and remotely control the EMR with Marsupial Instructor, you can use this next state feature to do that. And basically I just tell the students when to click the button. Usually like when they call the provider for orders or something like that, at the end of the phone call, I'll just tell them to hit the next state button, and that'll release a bunch of the orders that I am putting in the computer. So you can hide or show this button. So if you're going to remotely control the EMR, you can, and you don't want the students to be able to change the state, you can hide the button. But if you are going to be using the next state feature and having students change the EMR on their computer locally, then you can have this shown. Or you don't have to use states if you don't want to. Tabs, this will let you hide or show all the tabs in the EMR. So if you don't want students to be able to see any of the flow sheets, you can hide the flow sheets. You can limit what they see, which is useful for some people. Maybe they don't want to show a MAR because they're doing, they don't want like the students to get, they're not going to be like passing meds. That's not the focus of the sim. So maybe it's like a first semester assessment in charting exercise in lab, and they don't want to have a MAR visible. You can disable the MAR or whatever. Orders, show completed and discontinued orders. This will allow students to see orders that have been DC'd or completed. So these are all active orders, but a new feature in version 2 is the ability to discontinue and complete orders either like remotely or using the states, or you can just have them in here as discontinued or completed already. So that can be useful if like during the sim, you're trying to discontinue an order and you want it to pop up in the EMR. You can do that by remotely controlling the EMR or making a state do that. Or let's say you wanted to show the students that earlier in the day, we had like an order for, I don't know, Ativan that was 1 milligram, but it wasn't effective. So the physician ordered a 2 milligram Ativan order. You could have the 1 milligram order DC'd and have the 2 milligram order active, and the students be able to see that. So it's optional if you want to use that feature or not. If you have this checked here, the show completed and discontinued orders, then every time the students open Marsupial EMR, this box will be checked and it'll show discontinued and completed orders. The students are able to check this box and uncheck it, but it doesn't carry over to the next time the EMR is opened. But this setting does carry over. So if you always want it to be shown when they start the EMR, check that. If you don't want completed and discontinued orders shown, uncheck it every time the EMR opens. This will persist, but this one won't. Results, we have the option to show ranges in results column and also show ranges in a tooltip on hover. So under results, I have this range column here. You can hide this by unchecking the first box, or if they hover over a lab result, it'll give them a range as well. So if you don't want them to be able to do that, you can hide that too. Flow sheet, show WDL definition in tooltip on hover. If you're in your flow sheet and they hover over our WDL and our assessment, it'll tell them what WDL is, the WDL definition. So you can hide that if you want to. The MAR, we have some options on what we can show. We can show med locations. This will let you pick what part of the location is shown to the students that is entered in the med library, like the physical location of a medication, if they're going to be like removing it from a medication dispenser. You can pick which one you want to show or hide, or you can just hide all the locations. And you can pick wherever you want to show brand names as well. And the last one is the drug guide. We already did the select monograph library, but if you want, so the drug guide is new in version 2, like the internal drug guide didn't used to have that. Before, you could just put a link to a website, and when they click drug guide, it would take you to that website. So The new drug guide has kind of replaced the need for that, but if you still want to use that instead of the Marsupial drug guide, you can do that. So you can uncheck this use internal offline drug guide, and then when you click the drug guide button, it'll take you to whatever link you have here. So I've got drugs.com, whatever you want to make it. Or if you just want to totally hide the drug guide button and have the students like use a drug book, like a physical book, you could do that too. So those are the options for Marsupial EMR. We can close that. It'll ask us to confirm or exit. So all the programs support Microsoft Windows 7 and newer. All Microsoft Windows 7 and newer should have this .NET Framework 4.8. That's like the, it's like a Microsoft package for programs. So you should have that already. If you download Marsupial and it gives you an error about not having .NET Framework 4.8, you can download it here from Microsoft. It'll take you to the Microsoft website to download it. So you should already have that. You shouldn't need to get this, but if you do, there's a link for it. There's some other tips here. If you want to upgrade, let's say version 2.1 comes out and you want to upgrade from version 2 to 2.1, this will walk you through how to do that. Basic idea is you want to download the new version of Marsupial, and then when you go to extract the new version, you'll just overwrite what's in this Marsupial EMR folder. And as long as you have all your user databases in this folder, nothing will get overwritten. So that's why we made this separate user DB folder, so nothing gets overwritten if you were to upgrade. With that said, you should make backups of all your user databases, your charts, your med libraries regularly, just in case something gets overwritten or gets corrupted. There's a lot of work that goes in creating the patient charts, and losing all that work because you accidentally overwrote it, big bummer. So make sure you're backing up your user databases somewhat regularly. If you are upgrading Marsupial EMR, one thing that will possibly get overwritten is this internal.db file. This has all the settings in that settings menu we just changed. So if you upgrade and extract to this folder, it'll overwrite it. So if you don't want to overwrite your settings, just don't extract that internal.db. If you do, you just have to redo all your settings. It's not really a big deal, but FYI, you can do that. This images folder has a bunch of the images that, like some demo images for diagnostic imaging, like x-rays, EKGs, and it's got the default avatar file as well. So if you're making like imaging, you can add an actual like JPEG or PNG or bitmap file, and it'll show it within the EMR. So you can use these default ones, or you can add your own images. And if you're going to be using your own images, they have to be in this Marsupial EMR images folder. That's where it will look for the images, and then when you're creating the chart in Marsupial Editor, you just have to tell it which file to use. So if you want to learn more about that, make sure you watch the Marsupial Editor video. Let's go get Marsupial Editor from the Marsupial website on GitHub. So we're in the Marsupial EMR repository still. We're going to go back to Marsupial project, go to Marsupial Editor repository, because that's where Marsupial Editor can be downloaded from. Again, got a bunch of links here. You can click on download Marsupial Editor, or just click the releases link. Version 2 is the latest version here. It's got a bunch of changes, so please review those. Bunch of installation instructions that are basically the same. And then the files down here. We have this databases file already. We already downloaded that, so we don't need it. But we do need this marsupial v2.zip. So we're going to click that. It'll download it for us. And once it's done, we will go to our folder where it is, and should be our downloads folder. So we'll double click our marsupial editor file. We'll go to extract, and we're going to browse to the desktop, marsupial editor, and we'll select that folder to extract it to. And again, this is basically installing the program. Now we've got all the files here from Marsupial Editor in our Marsupial Editor folder on the desktop. So we can open up Marsupial Editor. Might give us a warning. Again, more info, run anyway. And now this is Marsupial Editor. It's installed. We can open up an EMR database, medication library database, or monograph database to edit. So let's open up the EMR database. The demo charts one, we downloaded it in our user DBs folder. And then that'll be the charts we made from the editor video. And everything we just looked at in the EMR will be in here. So that's basically installing Marsupial Editor. We can close that. And then we can go to the zip file we opened and close that. We don't need that anymore. And then let's go get Marsupial Instructor. Kind of the same process for all of these. We'll go to the repository. We'll go to releases. We will get the latest release. There'll be a bunch of notes about what changed and some install instructions. We just have Marsupial Instructor here. We're going to click that and download it. We are going to go to our downloads folder. We could just open it as well. So we opened up our Marsupial Instructor zip. We're going to extract it. We're going to go to the desktop, Marsupial Instructor, select folder, and then we'll extract it. I'll pop up a new window here on the desktop under Marsupial Instructor. Now we have Marsupial Instructor installed. So we can open up Marsupial Instructor. Might give us a warning. Might also not. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. We'll run it anyway. It didn't recognize it as a corporate application, so it's going to do a virus scan. Didn't find anything, and now we have Marsupial Instructor open. So again, Marsupial Instructor is the program that we can control the EMR remotely. It's optional. There are some settings to set up Marsupial Instructor. Under server IP would be the IP address of the computer running Marsupial EMR. So this would be the computer the students are using in lab that has the EMR on it, which would be that same IP address we put into the server IP in Marsupial EMR settings. So we want to connect to that computer running Marsupial EMR. We can put the server IP there. Every time you open the program, it'll remember that IP, so you don't got to put it in every time. And then once you got in there, you hit connect, it'll connect the computer, it'll open up all the patients. You can open the patient and it'll list all the orders and results and imaging and states. Under states, you'll have that next state button if you want to remotely advance the state if you're using states. Again, they're optional, but they do make things a lot easier. If you're not using states, then it'll list all the orders in that patient's chart and all the results and imaging, and it'll let you show, hide them, enable and disable them, discontinue them, complete them, things like that. One option here is view only hidden. So if you only want to show the hidden orders, which is often what you want to see, then you can click that. That's Marsupial Instructor. There's also a new tab for the med dispenser. There's an EMR tab and a med dispenser tab. So if you're going to be using Marsupial Pharmacy and you want to control Marsupial Pharmacy remotely, you can do that as well. It's probably be running on a different computer than the EMR, so you'll have a different IP address that you can connect to. And we only really do med orders in the dispenser, Marsupial Pharmacy, so it only shows orders and states. All right, so we'll close our zip file. We don't need that anymore. And then let's go get Marsupial Pharmacy. So we'll go back to Marsupial Project. We'll go to Marsupial Pharmacy Repository. Again, there's a bunch of notes here. We can go to Releases. This is the only version right now. It's the first public version of Marsupial Pharmacy. So we'll go down here. We already got the databases. We'll just get the program. We'll click Marsupial Pharmacy v2.zip. We can open that file. We'll extract it. We'll hit Browse, Desktop, Marsupial, Marsupial Pharmacy. We'll extract it to that folder. And now we've got Marsupial Pharmacy. So now we have this here. You can open Marsupial Pharmacy generic, and it'll open up Marsupial Pharmacy. So I think that'll work when I do it. It opens up full screen, so I'm pretty sure that'll still get recorded when I do that. More info will run anyway. Like the EMR, it's looking for a patient database but doesn't have one. Same with the med library. So this is what Marsupial Pharmacy looks like. Looks like a medication dispenser screen. The students can touch their fingerprint on the screen if you're using a touch screen like monitor, and it'll just log them in. We don't have a database file specified, so we can't open it yet. So we have to log in as the administrator and go to settings. So the username is admin, and so is the password. So we'll go to settings, and we can configure patient database. We're going to click that, and we're going to go to our desktop, Marsupial, user DBs, and we're going to pick whatever database has our charts in it. So we're using democharts.db. But you can pick whichever file is going to be your file for your charts. Again, in the Marsupial editor video, I walk through how to make your own database file from this blank.db. So we'll use the demo charts one as a demo, and we'll select our medication library. Under desktop Marsupial user DBs, we'll go to our med library. The server IP box is, again, it would be the IP address of the computer running Marsupial Pharmacy if you want to remotely control the dispenser. Don't have to do that, it's optional. Marsupial Pharmacy also supports the states. It has a next state button in it, so if you want your dispenser to change during the simulation, it is possible to do that. For example, a time when you would want the dispenser to change would be possibly if you're releasing new orders during a sim and you want them to pop up, you want them hidden on the dispenser initially and then to pop up mid-sim in the dispenser like you would in real life. You may or may not want or need to do that. And a lot of my sims, the students aren't going to the dispenser until they get a new order. So it doesn't really matter if it shows the new orders initially, because the students aren't going to go to the dispenser until they need the medication, and they're getting the medication when I give them the order over the phone. So if you just want all the orders for every patient to be shown all the time, you can use the show disabled hidden orders, and you can check it, and then it'll show med orders for even things that are hidden or disabled. So if, let's say I'm running a sim and the students are going to call to get an order for furosemide stat, and they got to come to my med dispenser and pull it out mid sim. If I check this, then my furosemide will always be available in the dispenser under the patient, even if I haven't enabled it yet. Again, it's probably not going to be a problem, just as long as like your students aren't going to go to the dispenser and see meds that haven't been ordered yet. Then it kind of gives away what the sim is, right? So again, if you design your sim a certain way, then you should always be able to show your orders. It's up to you and how you design your sims, whether it matters if you have to use states for your dispenser or not. Start server and program launch, similar to the EMR. If you're going to be remotely controlling the dispenser and you want the server to start every time you run Marsupial Pharmacy, check that. And then show next state button, again, similar to the EMR. If you want the next state button to show, then check that. And then just make sure we hit save settings when we're done. And like the EMR will say, you might have to restart the program for some settings to take effect. So now that we have the database loaded and the med library loaded, we can go to our patient list, and we should see the same patients we saw in the EMR for our demo charts.db. And we do. We've got Michael Holloway and Tristan Ali. So if we go to Michael Holloway, we should see all of the medications that were ordered, even the hidden ones, because under settings, we have show disabled / hidden orders. So if you already watched the editor video, you know that we put a stat furosemide order in that was hidden, I believe. And we enabled it with a state during the sim. I think it was state 1. So if we have that option checked, it's going to show even the hidden orders. So again, if your students aren't going to the med dispenser before they get the order, it doesn't matter, because the first time they're going to the dispenser is after the order is given, and they won't spoil anything. But if you don't want them to see something, or they're going to be going to the med dispenser multiple times, then you'll have to have them use the next state function on the dispenser or remotely control the dispenser. Again, I designed my sims so that I don't have to worry about controlling the dispenser remotely. I'll just have everything visible. So the students are really only going to the dispenser one time during the sim after they get new orders. So yeah, that's basically installing Marsupial Pharmacy. We'll just verify that it's reading the med library correctly by picking one of the medications. Not sure if I have any locations picked here. Yeah, I don't have it. I don't have a location specified in the medlibrary.db for furosemide, 40 milligrams parenteral. So it's saying not stocked in this dispenser. I doubt I have those. Maybe I have the oxycodone. Nope. Probably don't have any of these marked. So, oh, I do have the vancomycin marked. Okay, so because I filled out the location fields in the medlibrary.db for vancomycin, it's showing that it's available in this dispenser, in drawer 4 and bin 10. And then when I select my client to remove and click OK, it'll tell the students which location the med's in, what they're grabbing, what to remove. They can remove it, hit press when finished, looks them back to the med list. And there's an override function that'll just list everything that's in the dispenser. So because my medlibrary.db has a location for these acetaminophen and the oxytocin and the vanc, it's showing them as removable from the dispenser, even though I don't have an order for acetaminophen on this patient. The location's coded in my medlibrary.db as being in the dispenser. So if you want to use the override function, it's there. And then we'll log out of our admin account. So the admin account is not really a secret. It's just to prevent the students from being able to click settings. I have it behind a username and password. When students go in to log into the Marsupial Pharmacy, they'll just use their fingerprint and log in that way. There also is a username student and password nurse, I believe. That'll log them in too. If you don't have a touch screen and you have like a mouse and a keyboard on your medication dispenser, highly recommend running Marsupial Pharmacy on a touchscreen so it mimics like an actual med dispenser. But if you need to use a username and password to log in instead of the fingerprint option, you can use student as the username and nurse as the password. And we'll exit out of that. And then pretty much good to go. We'll close our zip for pharmacy. A couple other things I'll mention is for Marsupial EMR and Marsupial Pharmacy, if you're going to be controlling them remotely over the network, there is some additional configuration set up to do that. It's listed in the release notes, I believe, under installation and network configuration. So if you want to use the networking features of Marsupial, you need to configure some things. Basically, you'll have to give Windows, you have to configure Windows to give permission to programs to run on this port, this networking port. That's what Marsupial uses to talk to and listen to. It's like the door it listens to on the network. You just have to give Windows or give Marsupial permission to Windows to listen on that port. And then you'll have to, you could do that by writing this command on a command prompt. You have to run the command prompt as administrator. So I recommend getting your IT staff involved if you want to set this up, because if you don't know what you're doing, you can break stuff and you probably need permission to do this, possibly. So definitely talk to your IT people if you want to run Marsupial over a network. Again, that's optional. We now have the ability to do the next state button if you want to change the chart during the sim. If you're using the next state button and programming states, then you don't need a network connection to change the chart. If you do want to remotely control the EMR, then you'll need to do this first part, and then the second part you'll need to open up port 52101 to UDP and TCP traffic if you're using Windows Firewall, and most people are using Windows Firewall. So if you don't open these ports, the networking won't work. I think that's pretty much it. Again, there's a bunch more videos to watch. If you go to quick links, training videos, there's videos for Marsupial EMR, student training videos, Marsupial editor videos that show you how to make charts, and a whole bunch of other videos. There's a student training video for Marsupial Pharmacy as well available. So I usually have my students watch those as a pre-brief You can just use those videos. They're already made. They're pretty short. I think the EMR video is only 8 minutes long, and the pharmacy video is maybe 2 minutes long. So you don't got to make your own training videos for students if you want them to use it. Again, if you have any questions, you can always go to the Marsupial EMR repository, go to the discussions board, and there are some questions. If you have a question, you can make a new post. You might have to make an account on GitHub to do that. And then the wiki, a bunch of documentation, is kind of outdated, unfortunately. I try my best to keep up both on the documentation, but it's hard to. So there's a bunch of stuff in here though. So for the Marsupial EMR wiki, it'll show you how to install, do the network configuration. It has some good information on barcode scanners and recommendations on what scanner to use. Basically use any scanner that you can configure to scan a barcode and then hit enter after. Most barcode scanners can do that. You just have to configure them to do that. So having it send a return or enter key press after scanning is super important. If it doesn't do that, it'll just print the number in the field and it won't like use it. You have to have that enter or return key press after the number it scans for it to work right. So, and then we'll walk through how to make a barcode for your patient. The barcode is just the MRN. So you just make a barcode for like a patient wristband barcode. You're just creating a barcode with the medical record number for that patient. So there's a wiki for the EMR, editor, instructor. Don't have one for pharmacy yet, but it'll be there eventually. So that about wraps up this video. Make sure you check out the other videos from Marsupial and then reach out on the discussion board if you have any questions.